St. Anselm Abbey, located in Goffstown, New Hampshire, United States, is a Benedictine abbey composed of men living under the rule of Saint Benedict within the Catholic Church. The abbey was founded in 1889 under the patronage of Saint Anselm of Canterbury, a Benedictine monk of Bec and former Archbishop of Canterbury in England. The monks are involved in the operation of St. Anselm College. The abbey is a member of the American Cassinese Congregation of the Benedictine Confederation Foundation. In 1889, Dennis M. Bradley, the first Bishop of Manchester, New Hampshire, requested that Abbot Boniface Wimmer send monks to his diocese to create a school for French and Irish immigrants. The bishop thought that in order to create harmony among the people of his diocese, the best educators for them should be German. Monks from St. Mary's Abbey in Morristown, New Jersey, were sent to found St. Anselm Abbey in 1889. When they arrived, they founded St. Raphael's Parish in Manchester, and they founded St. Anselm Preparatory School, which would later become St. Anselm College. St. Anselm College. St. Anselm College is a nationally ranked Catholic liberal arts college in Goffstown, New Hampshire. The monks of St. Anselm Abbey are heavily involved in the life and operation of the college, serving as administrators, as faculty, staff members, and on the college's board of trustees. The monastery's approximately 30 monks fulfill their monastic calling in the work they do. Abbots. From the time of its founding in 1889 until 1927, when it became an independent abbey, St. Anselm was a dependent priory of St. Mary's Abbey in Morristown, New Jersey. The abbots of St. Mary's were also the abbots of St. Anselm. Those abbots were Abbot Hilary Fry Engel and Abbot Ernest Helmstetter. Abbot Bertrand Dolan, OSB. In 1927, St. Anselm Priory was elevated to an abbey by Pope Pius XI. Abbot President Ernest Helmstetter, president of the American Cassinese Congregation, conducted the first abbatial election, and the monks in solemn vows elected Fr. Bertrand Dolan, OSB, as first abbot of St. Anselm Abbey. Abbot Ryanj.mccarty, OSB. Abbot Gerald was elected coadjutor abbot in 1963 at Abbot Bertrand's request. Following the death of Abbot Bertrand in 1968, Abbot Gerald became the abbot of St. Anselm. His abbatial blessing was celebrated on September 3, 1963, by Bishop Ernest John Primo of Manchester. Abbot Gerald retired from his abbatial duties due to declining health shortly before Christmas of 1971. Bishop Joseph John Gerry, OSB. Bishop Joseph professed first vows as a member of St. Anselm Abbey on July 2, 1948. Following his novitiate at St. Vincent Arch Abbey in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, he was ordained to the priesthood in St. Joseph's Cathedral, Manchester, by Bishop Matthew Francis Brady on June 12, 1954. He was named sub-prior of the abbey in 1959 and prior in 1963, a position he held until 1971. On January 6, 1972, he was elected third abbot of St. Anselm Abbey, a position he held until his appointment as auxiliary bishop of Manchester by Pope John Paul II. On February 21, 1989, he was installed as the 10th Bishop of Portland, Maine. The principal celebrant was Bernard Cardinal Law, Archbishop of Boston. The event took place at the Cathedral of the Immaculate Conception in Portland. Bishop Joseph retired on February 4, 2004, and returned to St. Anselm Abbey where he currently resides. Abbot Matthew K. Levy, OSB. Abbot Matthew, a native of the Bronx, New York, took vows as a monk in 1968. Ordained to the priesthood in 1975, and having held various responsibilities in the monastery and at St. Anselm College. He was elected the fourth abbot of St. Anselm Abbey on March 4, 1986, at the age of 35, after Abbot Joseph John Gerry's elevation to auxiliary bishop of Manchester. Before being elected abbot, he was the prior of the abbey. Abbot Matthew retired from his position as abbot and chancellor of St. Anselm College on June 5, 2012. Abbot Mark Cooper, OSB. On June 5, 2012, Abbot Mark Cooper was elected as the fifth abbot of St. Anselm Abbey. By virtue of his election, he consequently becomes Chancellor of St. Anselm College. Previous to his election, he managed St. Anselm College's finances for 33 years and was set to retire as the Treasurer and Vice President of Financial Affairs. Abbot Mark professed vows as a member of the Benedictine community at St. Anselm in 1972 and was ordained to the priesthood in 1976. He earned his bachelor's degree in political science in 1971 from St. Anselm College. He earned an MSA in Business Administration from the University of Notre Dame. He studied at St. John's Seminary in Boston and St. Albert's Seminary in Oakland, California. Abbot Mark was officially blessed as the abbot of St. Anselm Abbey on September 10, 2012 by his uncle Bishop Joseph Gerry, OSB, in the presence of the Bishop of Manchester, Peter Libasi. Community song. On feast days and at the graveside during burial of members of the community, the monastic community sings the hymn of the American Cassinese congregation. The hymn is sung a cappella in Latin through once, then the final two lines are repeated.